back to my channel. So today I'll be showing you guys how to make this bishop collar shirt. It's a men's shirt that I'm making today. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the length of the shirt. So the length I'm working with is 28 inches, right? Then I'm going to add 1.5 to it. The 1.5 is for 1 inch of folding the end and then half an inch of joining the shoulder. So that will give me 29.5. So that's what I have here as the length of my shirt. So this here is going to be the shoulder. As you can see, there's a white line here. This is going to be the shoulder. So the next thing I'm going to check is the width. And as you can see, this fabric is folded into two. Normally you would just need about 2 yards for this here, for a button down shirt. So the next thing I'm going to do is to check the width, and then the width I'm working with is chest of 42. So the chest of 42, I'm going to divide it by 4. So if I divide it by 4, that will be 10.5. I'm going to add 2 inches to it. 1 inch is for my seam allowance, and then 1 inch is for ease, because you know men's shirts, they're normally like a little bit loose. So that's why I'm using 1 inch for ease and then 1 inch for seam allowance. So that's why I added 2 inches here, and I have 12.5. So the next thing I'm going to do is to go over to the shoulder, and then I'm going to check the shoulder measurement I'm working with is 18. 18 divided by 2, that's going to be 9. So I'm going to mark 9 here. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the armhole. So the armhole I'm working with is about 21. So 21 divided by 2, that's going to be 10.5. So I'm going to mark that here. And then I'm going to go up more. And then I'm going to go up and mark it this way. So guys, normally for men's shirts, if you're working with a shoulder that is maybe more than 16, so the more length you have here on the shoulder, then the more you're going to increase the shoulder slope. So let's say I'm working with 18 now. So I'm going to, instead of normally I do use like 1 inch, I come down by 1 inch, but here I'm going to come down by 1.25, right? Because just check it, the more the length here, the more you will need longer slope. So I'm saying the more the length of the shoulder, that means the slope you needs to be more, like coming up to the shoulder. So guys, what I'm trying to say is the more the length of the shoulder, because normally for a lady sometimes it's like 16, right? So that's why I come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, because the distance is not much. But for a guy, you're going down further. So this one here is about 18 inches. So to cover that same slope that I need to make this distance a little bit, come down a little bit more. So that's why I made it about 1.2 is what I'm going to use here. So the next thing I'm going to do is to mark the neckline. That's going to be 3.2 is what I'm going to use here. And I'm going to come down by the same 3.2. So I'm going to mark it here and curve it this way. So this here, normally you're supposed to cut your back panel. When you're making a shirt, you're normally supposed to cut the back panel first before cutting the front panel. So I'm going to connect this shoulder slope to this line here. So this is what I'm working with. And then down here, I'm going to just give it a curve for my armhole. And that's basically it. I'm going to just go ahead and cut this out. For my back panel, so this is going to be my back panel. I'm just going to come down by 1 inch here. So I'm just going to mark the 1 inch and mark it here. I'm going to cut this out. Then using this back panel, I'm going to trace out my front panel. So guys, I've gone ahead and cut it out. So this is what it looks like. So this is my back panel. So with this here, I'm going to trace out my front panel. So guys, the next thing you're going to do after tracing out your back panel is to fold your fabric into two and then place it again to cut out your front panel. But to cut out my front panel, what I'm going to do, because normally there are 2 ways to do this here. You can just leave 3 inches in front for your front panel. Just leave like space of 3 inches here so that you can use that 3 inches. When you're done, you split it open on the center, because remember this is going to be your center front, and then you're going to just fold the fabric on itself, and that will be your like the placket for the button, right? You see, if I split it open now, I have 3 inches on this side and then 3 inches on the other side. So if I fold each of them now, I have 2 of them, one will overlap the other. So that's one way of doing it. But the way I'm going to do it now, I'm going to just cut the exact amount of fabric. Guys, the other way of doing it, but the easiest one is just to leave 3 inches at the center when you're cutting it, and then you mark out your neckline, cut it out, and then just go ahead and fold it and make the placket with the fabric itself. But if you want, you can also use this method I'm about to show you. So guys, as you can see, I've used this to trace out. You see, I left my hand straight on this side, so all I needed was just the chest measurement. So I've cut this out, and then I'm going to just make sure that it's neat. And then the next thing I'm going to do is to transfer this neckline here onto the second part, because this is going to be my front panel. Or I can just trace out this same back panel, now turn the other one into my, like, cut this out, right? Cut this same neckline here, and then now use this one as my front panel. You see, now that I cut this out, so that means this one now is going to be my front panel. You see, this one here is going to be my front, this is going to be the back of the shirt. So now that I have my front panel, what I'm going to do is to cut this open. I'm going to cut it open. You see, I didn't leave any allowances. I'm just using the exact measurement of the back is what I'm using for the front. But I'm going to explain further. So you see, this is what I have. So now 1 back piece and 2 front piece. So guys, the only difference between the back and the front now is that the back has this 1 inch neck depth, and then the front has this 1.2. So this is on my front panel. So I'm going to come in about halfway through here, which is at 5 inches. I'm going to come in by half an inch. And then I'm going to connect it this way, connect it up, and then if you have the curve ruler, that's better, and then connect it down. So I'm going to chip this out so that you don't have bulky fabric when you're done. So I'm going to cut this out. Like, you don't have bulky fabric at the center. So this basically it. Like at the center of the sleeve, like after putting in your sleeve, just midway into this part here, you might now have like a bulky fabric. So to ease that off, you just cut out this few inches, this like 0.5 from it. So guys, this is what I'm using for the sleeve. The width I have here is 21, which is my armhole, like round the armhole, and I have 2 of it here. So then what I'm going to do now is to fold it into 2. So now I have it as 4 piece. So you see, one here is for one sleeve, one is for the other sleeve. There are 2 of them here, and the width here is just my total armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is to fold it back, and then I'm going to come down from this part here. I'm going to come down by like 4 inches down. So this is my cap height, 4 inches. So what I'm going to do next is to mark from this end of the shoulder down to this end here. So I'm going to just mark a straight line. Use your ruler, mark a straight line from that end to this end, right? And then find the center. So for me, I have about 11.5. So the center of this 11, okay, if I move it this way, is 11 inches on the dot, right? So what I have from this distance from this point to this point is 11 inches on the dot. So halfway through is going to be 5.5, right? So mark that 5.5 here. The next thing you're going to do is to use your curve ruler, give it a curve down this way, and then give it a curve up this way. So you're making like half moon shape up and then half moon shape down. So this is the easiest way to cut out your sleeve. So I'm going to just cut this out now, and then this is my sleeve right here. So notch it here so that I'll know the center around the bicep. So 14 divided by 2, that's going to be 7. I'm going to just add half an inch to it for ease. So that's 7.5, and then 1 inch to it for my seam allowance. So that's about that's about 8.5. So I'm just going to mark it all the way, connect it to this end here, and then cut it out. So this right here is my sleeve. So this is my sleeve, and the length I'm working with here is 10 inches is what I want to be the length of the sleeve, and then I added 1.5 to it, so that's why I have 11.5. So half an inch for attaching this top part, and then 1 inch for folding the rough end. To go to the sewing machine now, join the shoulder, each shoulder, like open up the back panel, right? This is the back panel. Join each side. So this side, I'm going to join it to this side here, and then join this one over to this side here. So that's basically what I'm going to do now. And then I'm going to also fix in my sleeve. Close up the side and then come back. And join my sleeve, the two sides of the sleeve, and then closed up the side here. So what I have here is what I'm going to use to make my placket. So I cut about 3.5 inches here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and iron it, like fold it into two and iron it. You see how mine is? At this point, if you have that white stay, you can go ahead and iron it in two. But I'm just using my plain fabric the way it is. So you see, I've already done one side. So this is one side here. I was explaining before, is that 3 inches I talked about. So if you added that 3 inches when you were cutting your fabric, at this point, what you just have to do is to go ahead and just fold that into 3 inches this way. Just fold it once and then fold in this rough end and make a stitch on it, right? Make a stitch all the way. That can also form your placket. But since I didn't do that, but I still have these 3 inches here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and attach these 3 inches in. So you see one side is ready. So all I have to do is to, you see, one side is ready. So I have to just go ahead and put in this one on this side. So this will now be the top part of this placket for my button. So my button will be on one side and then my buttonhole will be on the other side. So to do that, what I have to do, I've ironed this down. So what I will do now is fold in about half an inch on one end here, half an inch on the other end here. Close it together, right? That's why I went ahead and ironed it. And then just put this inside, like half an inch, like put this half an inch into this here, and then sandwich it between this, and then just fold it. After folding it this way, put this in here. Maybe you might want to pin it down and then start making your stitch all the way. That's how you're going to attach it. You see how mine looks? Attach it and then cut off the excess. So remember what I said, 3.5 inches distance is what you're going to use, and then you're going to cut out the length that will be enough from this point to this point. So I'm going to go ahead and attach mine and then come back. So guys, I've gone ahead and put mine in. So this is what it looks like. The reason why I'm using this method is that it gives it this band, and also at this point you can decide to change the color. So you can even use like a black fabric, or you can use a white fabric. That's if you use this my method here, you can be able to change the color. Just attach a different color to the band, and then you have the kind of picture you will see on the thumbnail. So now so now we're going to go over to the neckline. Also, you can change the color, so you can use the same color that you use. Maybe if you decided to use black for the placket, you can also go ahead and use that same black fabric for your neckline. So now we'll go ahead and cut the neckline. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do is to pin up this neckline this way and then measure what I need. So I'm going to measure mine, and I've already done this. I got 10 inches, right? So measure around the neckline. So I'm going to need 10 inches. I'm going to go ahead and cut out. That's 10 inches folded, which means it's going to be 20 round, right? So I'm going to cut out, instead of 20, I'm going to make it 21 because I need half an inch on each end for closing up the end. So I'm going to cut out 21 inches. So guys, at this point you can go in and also iron in that white stay, iron it in, and then you're going to fold this into two. So how I normally do mine is, before folding it into two, I fold it on the wrong side, right? Fold it on the wrong side and then close up this end, right? So you can go ahead and close up the two ends. So now I have my 21 inches. So that half an inch that I added, so you're going to use it, leave half an inch here and make a stitch all the way. Close it up and give it a curve at this end here, like curve it this way, right? Give it a curve and close it up. Do it on the two ends here. So I'm also going to just curve it here, leaving about half an inch on the end and close it up. After that, I'm going to flip it out. So guys, I've gone ahead and sewed mine, you see, cut off the excess and then closed it up and ironed it down. So you see the two ends are closed now. So if you don't feel like doing this curve, because you know the end is going to look something like this, like square this way, just come in by half an inch from this distance, and then just half an inch, and then you're going to now sew and give it this curve. But if you don't care for this curve here, you can just go ahead and do it and just fold your fabric into two, close the end, just straight line, close the two ends, no need for the curve, and then just go ahead and put it in. So now all I have to do is I'm going to just take this the way it is, fold it in by half an inch, right? Just folding it by half an inch. Place it this way. You see how it is? I folded in half an inch. Remember the width, if you open it up, the width is 3 inches, 3.5 inches, and the length for me is 20. That's round the neckline is 20. So what I'm going to do now is just hold it this way, and then I'm going to fix this inside. That's going by, put it inside, like inside of this here by half an inch, and then I'm going to just go on and sew it all the way around, and then come back to the other end. Just top stitch it 2 times, and then that will be it. Go ahead and put my button. So guys, I've gone ahead and finished mine. So to help your collar stand, try to iron in that white stay in so that it will help it stand better. So that's basically it. After that, put your button on one of the plackets and then your buttonhole on the other. So you see what mine looks like. I'm still going to go ahead and finish it up, but right now this is what it looks like. Button on one side, then the buttonhole on the other. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.